era crimes attended proceedings today, hopeful that almost 3 decades since their cases were referred for prosecution, answers would finally be given for why they've not made it to court. But the Commission's chair, retired Constitutional Court Justice Sisi Kampepe, started proceedings by highlighting a request by the NPA and the Justice Department for the recusal of Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Ishmael Semenya. Advocate Makhosi Gwala, on behalf of the NPA, pointed out an apparent conflict because of Semenya's previous links to the NPA.
We are simply saying, because Advocate Semenya advised the NPA, gave opinions, even to the extent of representing the NPA, then on those bases he should be disqualified.
The Commission has given the parties time to make a formal recusal application. Semenya's recusal will be argued in 2 weeks' time. Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Prosecutors have told the Durban High Court of the impact of Duduzile Zuma Sambodla's social media posts during the July 2021 unrest. Zuma Sambodla is on trial facing charges of terrorism and incitement to commit public violence. It's the state's case that she used her Twitter account to encourage widespread looting of businesses and the destruction of property. Advocate Yuri Gangai says her posts caused havoc.
From the comfort of her home, the accused spoke words that cost others their freedom, their lives, and their futures. Our Constitution protects freedom of speech, not the freedom to destroy.
He adds that her intentions were personal.
The state will prove intent, at least in the form of dolus eventualis. She foresaw that the words might provoke violence, yet persisted. Her conduct was deliberate, repeated, and driven by a personal mission, her father's release. That, my lord, is criminal intent.
Let's stay in the courts but move to Pretoria now, where the case against Zimbabwean opposition leader Job Sikhala has been postponed to Wednesday for a formal bail hearing. Sikhala, a former member of Parliament for the Citizens Coalition for Change, appeared before the Pretoria Magistrates Court today on charges of possession of explosives. He was arrested last week after explosives were found in his vehicle while he was driving in the capital. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana says the state is currently not sure whether it will be opposing bail.
You see, investigations in this matter are ongoing, but you must understand that the state does not enroll any matters unless there is prima facie evidence. And in this case, there is prima facie evidence against the two accused persons as they were found in possession of the explosives. Well, they were found with 26 bombs, and then they were also found with 15 other elements.
Retired EMPD Deputy Commissioner Rivo Spies has taken the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry through agreements between the EMPD as well as 2 private companies. Spies has testified that the agreements were fundamentally unlawful as well as irregular. The 2 memorandums of understanding were entered into with 2 companies of criminally accused tender tycoon Vusimuzi Matlala. Acting EMPD Chief Julius Mkhwanazi has been fingered as the accounting officer who signed off on the MOU despite not having the authority to do so. Oren Singh has more.
The MOUs signed in 2021 by EMPD's Julius Mkhwanazi would see 2 of Vusimuzi Matlala's companies, Medicare 24 and Cat VIP Protection, granted privileges in exchange for donating vehicles to the city of Ekurhuleni, among other things. The privileges included allowing Matlala's medical company to use red lights as well as his security company to use blue lights. Testifying before the Madlanga Commission, retired EMPD Deputy Commissioner Rivo Spies says both MOUs were fundamentally flawed and irregular.
This will never pass a proper legal department or through a scrutiny.
Spies highlighted a police operation in which Matlala's security company assisted the Hawks and the Special Task Force in a high-risk takedown at OR Tambo International Airport, showing the reach of Matlala within law enforcement. Oren Singh, Eyewitness News.
And further afield, the British Broadcasting Corporation is expected to apologize to US President Donald Trump for speech editing. It's been facing criticism over a Panorama documentary which allegedly misled viewers by editing a speech by Trump that suggested that he instigated an attack on the US Capitol in 2021. According to a leaked internal BBC memo published by the Daily Telegraph today, the Panorama program edited 2 parts of the speech together, so Trump explicitly encourages the Capitol riot. This has resulted in the resignations of the broadcaster's top brass. UK political leaders say they hope the resignations will lead to change, while Trump has welcomed the decision. Gold is trading at $4,079.99 an ounce. The rand is at 17.21 to the dollar, 22.66 to the pound, 19.90 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.68 a barrel. A partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Commission of Inquiry looking into truth and reconciliation cases has stalled, with some parties in the matter planning to bring a recusal application.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Happy Monday to you and yours. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Coming up on the show today, we are going to be talking to Women for Change and having a conversation around the women's shutdown that is happening on the 21st of November. Tune in if you're unsure why people have purple profile pictures, why people are talking about not going to work on the 21st of November and what it's all about. Then movies and what to stream. Adelaide Moyang joins us for that conversation, founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Make sure that you send your movie and film recommendations, documentaries, old or new, any genre will work. The travel feature, we're going to be talking to Gabby Brondani, our travel correspondent, around the top tips to get the best holiday deal on Black Friday. And I know many travel agencies and companies are very much pushing Black November as well. I mean, it's kind of happening with all companies that have sales within their businesses. Parenting and parents in the second hour of the show. We're talking about supporting your child's career choices. We'll be joined by Nasreen Kirsten, group psychologist at AdvTech Schools. And then we wrap up with the Naked Scientist, where you can send all of your science-related questions into Dr. Chris Smith. So get in touch with us. Give us a call. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M. At Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The 21st of November is going to be a shutdown. And this is something that has been instigated by Women for Change. Those of you that are on social media would have seen many people changing their profile pictures to purple. And not just that, Mall of Africa and a couple of other buildings and sites have started to change their colors to purple in support of what is taking place. Now, we are joined by Operations and Advocacy Coordinator at Women for Change, Marlies Joget, for this conversation. And I want to hear from all of you. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Marlies, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Marlies, I got very fired up over the weekend And congratulations on the petition. I see it is approaching 700,000 signatures. To everybody who wants to participate, head over to Women for Change. The links are there. I have the link in my bios as well on social media. But Melise, maybe share with us the work that Women for Change does, and then we talk about the shutdown.
Well, of course, we work with advocacy in GBVF. I mean, we deal with victims, survivors, and families of femicide victims on a daily basis. And all we try to do every day is mitigate the errors in the system to help our survivors both get out of abusive relationships and survive abusers. The core of our work is based in victim support. And I think most people think because we're so loud with our activism that we're not actually on the ground. But the numbers of messages we get a day is actually pretty astounding.
And I'm so glad you're sharing that. And maybe just bring us all into the picture of how Women for Change came about 2019.
Well, Sabrina Walter, who is our founder, she actually started a running club. And around that time, there was a femicide case that came about in one of the forests that they were running in. And she started gathering a group of people to run for the victim, and it just turned into something so huge that Women for Change was born from there.
Okay, and I mean, there are so many conversations that I am seeing and criticism coming in the direction of Women for Change, even prior to the march that will be taking place on the 21st, where I'm trying to recall, but one of the ones that stood out was where they were saying that you are quiet when men get hurt, but that's not what I have seen. Maybe you can help dispel some of the untruths about Women for Change.
I think the misconception is that we are the strong feminist group and we are completely against men. That's not actually the truth. The truth of the matter is we serve a group of women who are not being served by the greater system. And we are aware that there is so much errors in the system that someone has to jump in and serve them. But because we serve that community and so many victims have been so deeply wounded by both whoever it is that victimized them and the system, women are angry. We do speak up for men when we can, but when we do that, obviously women get upset because they feel like we are actually advocating for the perpetrators. So we have to move really carefully. I think the one thing we need to make clear is that men are not excluded from this, right? What we need men to understand is they are part of this conversation in a very important way because they are the ones who can speak to the men who are the perpetrators. And we need them to be the voice on behalf of us because the truth of the matter is the way that South Africa is built, women are not actually listened to. Culturally, we have the understanding that women need to be silent. And the louder we get, the quieter men tend to get. But they are the ones who can actually help push this conversation. And we want them to join the conversation and speak to their friends, speak to their communities, pull other men in to recognize how important it is to deal with this issue and to stand behind their sisters and push them forward.
Without us taking away from the amazing work that you're doing, have you found, because I mean, I am still being attacked on social media for asking a simple question. I saw that, you know, there was a complaint to say, number one, why are we not fighting against murders for everybody? Number one. Number two, my main thing was, please name the causes that were not for men, that were not started as a response to causes for women. And the other thing that I'm being attacked for was to say, as far as I understand, this march is not just for gender-based violence, meaning women in relationships where they are vulnerable, but it's also for the LGBTIQ plus community. It's for the vulnerable in society, which means our children, boys and girls, the elderly, those living with disabilities. What do you think the resistance is coming from? Because I see it as a South Africa versus perpetrators and the act of the violence. But it seems there is this perception that it is about men against women and vice versa.
I think, if I'm going to be very honest with you, the issue is power and control. when the power is taken away from the people who feel like they deserve that power, that is where the resistance comes from. And because women, according to South African men for some reason, and this is not all men, but a lot of them believe that women shouldn't have the power to voice their opinions and their thoughts and have feelings about what's happening to them. This is also why the LGBTQI community are targeted as well, because the men want to hold the power. The resistance is coming from that tussle around the power. When I don't think men recognize how important it is to stand beside us, because that actually makes us stronger as an entire country. We get things done when we work together. This fight is actually separating and actually exposing the people who are fighting for their place, their power position, which doesn't actually make them look good, but they don't think about stuff like that.
And I mean, I want to just echo what you've said, but also add the first layer of problems are the perpetrators themselves. The second layer are the group of people who do nothing. And the reason I say group is because we've heard horrific stories of children who were being victimized and women in the household turned a blind eye. And again, I'm saying this without judgment because we don't know the circumstances. There are people whose lives were in danger. I've interviewed many individuals who did speak up when they were being victimized and sexually abused and raped as children, and the adults around them did nothing. And then, of course, there's the layer of the individuals who still choose to, what is the word? It's you are aware of the things that your friends or circle are doing, but you don't do anything about it. So, for example, if you have a friend bragging that, you know, that woman got drunk and stuff happened, and it sounds like that person was not even in a position to consent. And then, of course, there's the layers of those, and this is what I'm assuming we're asking for, Melissa, is you are actively fighting against that action, that behavior.
See, I think the thing that we need to understand, culturally in South Africa, we are taught that silence is necessary for things like this. We don't want to talk about it because it's taboo, right? That is the first problem that we have. And then because of a history of abuse and men not necessarily feeling they are seen, what has happened is they've decided to take the power for themselves and use that in their family systems with the men and with the children and the women, right? The problem that I think that we're not looking at is that this is how family systems are designed, is silence, and that men are the ones who hold the power in the home. And the women in the house don't feel like they can speak about what's going on. If I can tell you the amount of cases that we get on a daily basis with young girls telling us they're being physically abused and sexually abused in their homes, but their mothers refuse to say anything because they are afraid. Culture says, you're not allowed to say anything. The man is allowed to do whatever he likes. And we do not educate people on what this looks like. It's easily identifiable. But now, the same child, if she's assisted by an adult and goes to a police station to open a case, the police officer says to her, this is a family matter. So at what point are we going to deal with this from a systemic place, from a historical place, from a family bloodline place? We need to have deeper, meaningful conversations around this in our family systems and why silence is so harmful.
There are some messages that are coming through. One reads as follows. Relebogile, we appreciate your support as victims of GBV. In my experience, I was very disappointed about how friends and in-laws were supporting my ex after he assaulted me. South Africans think there are valid reasons to violate women. That's why we have this crisis. You will be reminded that he's the father of your children and he is providing for them. I stood my ground and got a conviction. Sadly, I could do this because I'm financially independent. Imagine all the marginalized women all over the country. And we've got a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. I'm just wondering, I'm listening to this lady talking about them having a march, a shutdown and blah, blah, blah. My question is, when they set the dates for these things, do they think of the children in the schools, the matriculants that are writing their final exams, even other children? It's exam time now. So if they're calling for a shutdown, what happens when the schools shut down? What happens to the kids that are writing exams? I think they need to think about that and set a different date. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Marlies, before I give my thoughts, can you respond? Because I think there was a link about what happens with matriculants writing exams.
Yes. So on the website, there is a link where they can download letters. We understand that university students and the schools are writing exams in this time. So what we have requested in that letter is just that they get 15 minutes between 12 and 12:15 to do the lie down in their respective schools. We had to think about this holistically. Obviously, there are tons of people that can't stay home. There are people who have to make an income on that day. We have a very high levels of poverty, so we have to think about this in a holistic way. So there are multiple letters that people can download that will speak specifically to what it is they can do that day.
Okay, and Marlies, I mean, for me, to the person who sent through that voice note, let me say this. You are so blessed to be in a position where your worry about your child is their exams. There are parents who are in a position where they are looking for justice for their child who's not alive today. There are parents who are unable to fully grieve the loss of their child because they don't even know what happened to them. A body was found days later and nobody knows what happened. Now, in my view, there would never be a right day. But Marlies, maybe share with us, why was it important that the 21st of November was chosen as the date?
Well, the G20 happens on the following day. And I think South Africa, and this is a statement I make all the time, South Africa is a PR state. All we care about is how we look to everybody else. When the reality of what we're dealing with as women and children in this country is actually so horrific. But we're so desensitized to it because every day there's a GBV case in the media. There's a murder in the media. We don't even pay any attention to what's really going on the ground anymore. But what we will do is sell ourselves to the highest bidder in order to make money, not thinking about how that's impacting the woman next door that is being beaten by her husband. We really need to think about how the citizens of this country are affected by what's happening at a global scale. And it is very important to highlight that the day before the G20.
So what is the call for, Marlies? What are you asking? If Cyril called in right now and said, I've heard your cries, what would you like me to do? What is that? What are you asking the president to do?
We need to declare gender-based violence and femicide a national disaster. The same way that they did with COVID, they were mobilizing funds, resources so quickly. Why do the women and children of this country don't deserve the same kind of attention? All we want is for them to put resources in the right place. The promises have not been fulfilled, not one of them. And every time they keep sending us messages and telling us that there's the NSP, that there's this, that there was the 90-day blitz, till this very moment in time, we have no reporting for what actually happened with those things. But they keep talking.
Okay, and I think that is valid. So what would a national disaster status provide? Would that allow funds to be freed up for additional support? Like in real life, what would that equate to?
It will release funds for additional support, but also it will help us focus on things like educating, number one, our police officers. Number two, really actually implementing bail conditions. We keep being told that bail conditions have changed and abusers are not allowed let out on bail. But every single day we see a case of a woman being murdered by someone who's let out on bail. It makes us actually implement all of these promises that were told to us that are not actually being implemented in the system that we see on a daily basis.
Okay, we've got a caller on the line. Sammy in Pretoria, hi.
Good day, Relebogile. How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Yeah, regarding Union for Change, right? Hello?
We're listening. Yes, Sammy, go ahead.
And the work that they're doing. And also the criticism that people say they're not advocating for men. I think people need to understand something. In every country in the world, when it comes to gender-based violence, you come to whatever it is, there are focus groups, right? Women for Change will advocate for women, so Gender for Justice and so on. And then there's also organizations for men like Fathers for Justice, we've got Matrix Men. So people, if they are so concerned about men who are being abused, of which is true. Like, for example, the research by the Czech Peace and Development Institution revealed that 42% of men have been victims of GBV in 2023. So what needs to happen is this: people need to join those organizations that advocate for men, and then leave Women for Change to advocate for women. It's not as if they are saying men are not victims, but various statistics show that there are men who are victims of GBV in less numbers. So they need to join those organizations.
And Sammy, you are hitting the nail on the head here, because those organizations are there and they're not being supported. The same way that and I'm using general terms here because it's going to be quicker. The same way that men cry that no one listens to them, they have the highest suicide rates. Do they listen to each other? Like I deal with men's issues on this show so many times, I still get attacked as not caring about men. And the real question is, are men caring about men?
There are men who care about men. The problem here is this. I don't want to say people have been indoctrinated into thinking that women are the only ones who experience GBV. But the thing about there is this. Certain broadcasters, I don't want to mention them, whenever someone raises big issues, they go in outreach, right? And then they're saying they're trying to silence women.
So what I'm going to do, Sammy, there's another person waiting on the line, and we're going to have to wrap this up before news and still give Melise an opportunity. But thank you for your call. William in Pretoria, go ahead, William.
Jay, thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
Yes. And really, I would want to say, until and to a point where one happens to be a victim of, what you're talking about, women and, female persons being treated unfairly also. I'm a father. I've got, if I'm to tell you exactly what I went through at some stage, I've got two daughters in my life, and one of them happened to go through a very difficult situation that if I'm to open it up now, it's as good as I'm opening up the wound.
William, we're losing you. You're so far from the mic.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm not sure what you have lost on myself. I'm just saying, I happen to be the father of a girl child who happened to be a victim to the situation. And then it just happened. We don't have to wait until you are a victim to then take our voice to the street. If I'm to tell you what I went through, it's as good as I'm opening up the wound that I went through as a father. And sometimes people think fathers don't care as well, but we do care. And then I'm in full support. When a perpetrator does whatever he does to a female person, he doesn't ask for permission nor for a day to declare what he or she's going to do or what he's going to do. He does it, unceremoniously so. So I think asking permission from whoever or even that day, if possible, we should be having one day a week or so wherein we conscientize people about what we're going through. So one doesn't have to be a victim or go through that. So
and William, we're gonna have to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing that. You don't have to wait to be affected. I even hate the part, Melise, where you have to say you have a sister, you have a mother. That already tells me that you don't necessarily see women as human until now you have one that you have vested interest in. Like, we have to feel safe as South Africans to walk around. And even if we are to touch on the fact men are also being killed, they're being killed by men. They are being killed by men. But before we let you go, Melise, please help us understand when you say gender-based violence, because I know the term is used with intimate partner violence, irrelevant of whether it's a man or a woman. Can we be clear from your perspective, what does it mean when we say gender-based violence?
Look, abuse is abuse across the scale. And I think the confusion is rife because we're predominantly seeing it with women, right? Because women are generally more vulnerable. But abuse is abuse. When we're talking gender-based violence specifically, though, we're talking about someone being targeted specifically because they are weaker or perceived as weaker, rather. So women are specifically targeted for that reason. The LGBTQI community are targeted for that reason, and children as well. and we know that predominantly the perpetrators are men. So it's difficult to include men necessarily in the gendered part because so many of them themselves are perpetrators. But that doesn't take away from the fact that men are also victims. I coach men who are going through this, and that's separate from what we do at Women for Change. But we need to acknowledge that the high rate of femicide cases in South Africa are specifically focused on women. And there are a lot of questions I need to ask for why that is.
Melise, I'm so sorry we're going to have to let you go, but please stay on the line to chat to my producer so that we can catch up before the 21st. Remind everybody how they're able to participate if they would like to be in support. And thank you for your time and the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. An officer testifying in the incitement case against Duduzile Zumasambudla has told the court the unrest in KwaZulu-Natal was more violent than the unrest in Gauteng. In July of 2021, riots broke out in the two provinces following the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. His daughter, Duduzile Zumasambudla, is now standing trial for allegedly inciting the violence through her social media posts. The Commission of Inquiry into Truth and Reconciliation cases has stalled today, with some parties in the matter planning to bring a recusal application. Proceedings kicked off this morning at the Saibono Centre in Newtown. The Judicial Commission will try to determine whether attempts were made to prevent the investigation and prosecution of apartheid-era crimes. And some community leaders in Westbury claim they've been excluded from police engagements which took place in Sophiatown. Acting Minister of Police Feroz Kachalia has been meeting with some Westbury community leaders to find ways to address the crime and gangsterism challenges in that area. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
On the N3 North, there is a crash in the right lane at the Geldenes interchange, and if you're on the N12 West, be on the lookout for a stationary vehicle at Uncle Charlie's interchange, and roadworks just before Rondebolt Road. The right lane is closed. In Fourways, traffic lights are out at Witkoppen and Cedar, as well as Cedar and Fourways Boulevard, and in Edenvale at Modderfontein and Van Riebeeck Road, as well as Modderfontein and the N3. In Centurion, traffic lights are out at the N14 and Jean Avenue, as well as the N1 and Old Joburg Road. More Eyewitness News traffic at 2 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
It's a special broadcast of the Clement Maniatella show live from Westbury.
If you just go back to that protest, and people was fighting for a basic human right, where SAPS came in and treated us like dogs. SAPS was here all over the place, every day in our community. Why can that not happen when our children's lives are being lost here on the streets of Westbury?
Yeah, Councillor Marilyn Smoos, Westbury Ward 82 Councillor.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
I'm Samela Kelboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Increase the health promotion levy on sugary drinks. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Experience a unique musical journey as the Mzansi National Philharmonic Orchestra presents its national tour, featuring legendary conductor Marin Alsop and homegrown global sensation Abel Selauchwe. The program includes Selauchwe's Four Spirits Cello Concerto, paired with Rachmaninoff's Romantic Symphony No. 2. Concerts take place at the Linda Auditorium on Wednesday the 10th and Thursday the 11th of December. Book your tickets now at Quicket.
In case you missed it, 702 was in conversation with Santam about Santam's partnership with the G20 taking place in Johannesburg.
We are participating in the disaster risk and reduction working group, and through that we are able to share some learning, good practices, and what we've got from our flagship program, like partnerships and risk and resilience. So we hope that the learnings that we are able to share with the G20 countries we're able to be utilized, most importantly to emphasize the role of partnerships between government and the private sector.
Santam is a proud sponsor of the G20 Summit. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer, and the controlling company for its group of companies.
702 Movies.
23 minutes to 2 o'clock. Movies and what to stream with Adelaide Moyang, founder of Movies and Stuff. Make sure you find her on the socials and follow her work. Adelaide, happy Monday. How are you doing?
Happy Monday. I am very well rested.
I can see. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line. 072-702-1702. Send through all of your movie suggestions, documentaries, and the like. All right, let's kick off with the first one.
Right. I actually wanted us to just discuss a little bit about what's been happening on social media and the topic of hate watching. Because I did speak about All's Fair last week and how the first episode really was good. And then the day it debuts, which was it was like the very next day, it got rated a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. I was like, wait a minute, this does not make sense because what I saw and what I'm hearing is not matching. So I gave it a couple of days, and after 3 days, it accumulated 3.2 million views. And it's Disney's biggest debut smash hit show in years.
Because everybody needs to know, as long as you watched, it is recorded as a view.
Thank you.
So a lot of, and listen, it's also okay to recognize that two things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
You can also say the acting's not amazing,
Absolutely.
but it made for addictive watching,
Yes.
and we all tuned in,
Yes.
making it a box office or silver screen success.
Yes. So essentially, I think that's the topic that I wanted to discuss, is that although certain shows might have certain people we do not necessarily like, it still becomes successful because in people trying to essentially say, well, Kim Kardashian is in the show, I don't want to watch it, and you hate watching it, you've now actually made it more successful. And now she can actually go back to Hulu and Disney and say, well, yes, it was hate watched. Yes, it wasn't critically acclaimed. However, the fan base liked it to such a point where now the fan score that they have is 67%. Which is really good for the first week. I think now when it comes to shows, the fact that we rely so heavily on social media presence driving a show or killing a show is actually hindering the process of us appreciating shows in the long run. Because, sometimes some of the worst shows start out really bad after maybe the first episode. And then you have to grow with it keep and going and go. I think, yes, if by episode 10, you're feeling like this is going nowhere, by all means, you've given it a chance. But if you're only basing it off of one episode and you don't even know any context of how it grows, how it develops, how the character develops, what was the point? And so it's hindering that. It's a good show, but
also, I think if you genuinely love certain kinds of stories, what some person says online is not going to stop you from tuning in and watching, because reviews are not like, and critics is not the era of Barry Ronga, where now it's like we're waiting. Now there's social media, everybody has access, and we all know that's one person's opinion. I'm going to tune into it for myself.
Exactly. So at least I think in that conversation, we still need to try and find a way to give certain shows a chance, even with South African shows as well. I feel some shows honestly got shortchanged because maybe they didn't have the lead be this, influential actor that has millions of followers. And somehow also all these no-name actors are also getting shortchanged because perhaps you don't have the social media presence, but your acting skills really do speak for themselves. So I really feel like it is a hindrance, and it can also help certain shows. Look at The Witcher right now. There's a lot of controversy around the fact that Henry Cavill got replaced by Liam Hemsworth, and the performance that he's giving, sadly, he really is trying his best, and it's not bad. But the way Henry Cavill was so passionate about The Witcher and how he wanted to stick to the source material, and he's such a purist and he's a video gamer, he studied the entire book back to front to make sure that everything is authentically as it should be. So the fans are saying, we want Henry Cavill, but now the streaming companies are like, no, he's actually irritating us by wanting to stick to the source material. And so now I think we're at a fork in the road where we don't really know where we're going to go. Are we listening to fans, or are we listening to what we need to get as streaming sites to get our money back? At the end of the day, it is a business. But in the compromise of wanting business to thrive, we're now compromising art, we're compromising projects. And I think same can also even be said for music. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way as well when it comes to music. So it's just something that we really need to discuss in the art world, not just film and television, but just that compromise.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Okay, before we proceed to the first, I want to kick off with the Rosamund Pike situation, because I already saw the clip I was like, excuse me, is this woman South African and we didn't know all along?
Nailed it. So for those who need context, essentially the third franchise film, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which fans fought for that Now You Don't part. I feel like you guys need to realize that fans fought to keep that part in. Obviously, we do know the Now You See Me franchise is about the four horsemen, who are these very popular magicians and illusionists. And so in this third installment, they're going up against a villain lady from South Africa.
Yes.
And she's sounding very familiar. I don't know if you guys will be able to pick up who she's representing in this film.
I am so ecstatically excited to say that I'm here with Rosamund Pike. Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I want to talk about the South African accent. You
Yes.
nailed it. And I'm not like an expert, but I want to know, is there a phrase that haunts you from the script that was like hard to memorize with the dialect?
Oh gosh. Yes, because with the E sound in South African,
Yeah.
right? Some of them go, like a bit.
A bit. Okay.
But some stay with the E sound. There was one line, every good trick has a twist.
Twist.
So trick and twist.
Trick and
But they're both I's, right?
Right.
Every good trick has a twist. You want to try it?
Kind of. But maybe if we said it with, Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now what have you to say? Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy.
Mr.
Darcy is engaged to my daughter.
Is engaged to my
Now
daughter.
what is the next line?
Now what have you to say?
Now, Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now, what have you to say?
Now what have you to say? Ish?
Quite good, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
No? Bryanston mom, perhaps?
Bryanston mom. I saw a lot of comments saying she sounds like she's about to ask for the manager.
Right? And someone said at Woolies.
Yes, probably at Woolies. Okay, so Rosamund Pike, absolutely phenomenal actress.
Yes, and so she actually plays the villain from South Africa, and her family are part of like an underground syndicate. They deal specifically in diamonds, so that is the connection that we have. And I always love to see a South African villain. Just anything South African on an international stage, I'm happy for. So she plays this role, and I think she's doing it really well. That accent is so accurate. I think by far it's the best one I've heard so far. If you're not originally South African, I think she did a really great job. And that's actually coming out, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, is coming out on the 14th of November in all cinemas nationwide.
All right, and then finally, you can pick the final one.
I would say The Running Man.
Yeah.
So essentially, The Running Man is essentially almost like a remake of the original, which had Arnold Schwarzenegger, which dropped in 1980. 7. It's based on a book by Paul Michael, and it's like a dystopian action. So essentially, the film has a TV show where you essentially get hunted for 30 days. You have to stay alive for 30 days. You're being hunted by professional assassins. And so if you win and you stay alive for those 30 days, you win $1 billion in this dystopian world. I don't know. I can't tell you what the currency is. I don't want to talk about any rand manipulation, but in the actual film, you get $1 billion. And so Shame, his daughter is sick. And the premise is that if he can just outlast and outwit these assassins, he'll be able to win money to help his sick daughter. It's starring Glenn Powell, which I'm a big fan of. I feel like he is slowly but surely going into Tom Cruise's footsteps. I hope I'm not giving him too much praise, but I like the fact that he's trying to do action in different ways. And so it's a cult classic as well. So you can never go wrong with a remake of something like that. And yeah, so far so good. It also stars Josh Brolin, who people will know as Thanos. Probably one of the best villains, in the past decade or so, but definitely something to look out for. Obviously, it's directed by Edgar Wright. Those who love his work will probably know his film Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And so gritty action, a little bit of comedy here and there, obviously, but I think it's something to really look forward to. The trailer is really great. I'm disappointed that they didn't give it enough marketing, because I only know about it because obviously I'm obsessed. But,
yes.
I think this is an action they should have just pushed a little bit harder for. It's doing really well. The reviews so far are excellent. And like I said, it's in that, a very niche of hunting series, but trying to make it action-packed. And there's only so many different ways that you can do a film like that. So I'm really hoping that it gets the attention that it deserves.
Let's see how it goes. Adelaide Moyang, make sure you follow her. She is the founder of Movies and Stuff SA on all of the socials.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
South Africa is set to revisit a painful chapter in its history as inquiry into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission begins this morning.
It's been exactly 30 years since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was set up as a restorative justice tool, allowing perpetrators of apartheid-era crimes and victims to come around the table in a bid to promote reconciliation and forgiveness. By the end of the commission in 2003, many perpetrators had been pardoned, but about 3,000 cases were referred to the NPA for further investigation and prosecution.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Jonathan Oppenheimer said, I don't know if you saw it, Ignatius, he said, we should stop letting red tape get in the way of entrepreneurs. I mean, for you, is that an issue?
Oh, it is. It's a big issue. I mean, in different fora as business, we talk to government. I can't really put my hand on it as what is it that's holding the government up and getting rid of red tape. I would like to believe the government wants this economy to grow.
Ignatius Sehole is the CEO of KPMG South Africa.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, named Best Cash Management Services in Africa at the 2025 EMEA Finance Treasury Services Awards.
702.
Travel.
10 minutes to 2 o'clock in our travel feature for today. We're talking about Black Friday deals and some tips we're going to need to survive, trying to get those travel deals in with Gabby Brondani, our travel correspondent. 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. Gabby, how are you doing? Hi, sorry, Gabby. There was just a delay on my side. How are you doing? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you too.
There we go. All right, let's jump straight into it because there are many people who still have not locked down their travel plans and they will be looking for deals last minute and potential savings, but it can be risky. So what tips do you have for us?
Definitely. So one of the first tips, especially considering we do still have a little bit of time ahead of official Black Friday, is to plan ahead. So we've said it before, we say it all the time when it comes to getting the best travel deals. The early bird really does catch the worm. The same applies to Black Friday travel deals. So start researching the destinations and the potential accommodations or types of trips you want to plan in advance. Create a wish list of places you'd love to visit, and then just set a budget. Work around the budget of costs that you find at the moment. Then, of course, once the deals drop, you'll be able to identify, okay, what is actually a good deal versus maybe not substantial. Another key thing to remember is flexibility can really play in your favor when it comes to uncovering hidden gem deals. So if you are at liberty to travel during off-peak seasons, we talk about off-peak season and shoulder season quite a bit, and it is one of the best times for you to get the best rates for travel, particularly within destinations that are maybe very popular destinations that are usually pretty expensive. So if you are able to plan to travel during off-peak season or less frequented destinations, you are likely to find more significant discounts for Black Friday for these particular places at these particular times. Again, keep an open mind. You might even stumble upon a new favorite destination or type of travel experience if you are able to be flexible with what you're looking for.
And I think that's the big deal, right, is being flexible, because I have seen some amazing deals, and then some of them are like, you can only take them in this period or after this date or between these dates.
That's it. And just on that point, one of the important things to just bear in mind so that you also don't maybe fall into something that you aren't fully prepared of, make sure you check the type of seasons that a particular travel package or travel deal is offering you. So often you'll find some incredible destination specials or package deals for the likes of your Thailand or your Bali or the Maldives, but often it's probably during monsoon season. And a lot of people say, oh, sometimes it's like a hit and miss during monsoon season. It may rain for quite a bit. It's like during small pockets of the day, but it's not going to dampen your holiday. Other people will say, oh, no, it rained a lot. So again, just do your research on the deals that you find, just to make sure that the season you're traveling in, that you don't mind the type of season you're going in. Don't get caught out that way.
All right, package deals, which are usually the easy ones to go to. You pay once and everything's included. What can you share with us?
Yes, so package deals, this is one of the important ones to just shop around and just make sure you are getting the best value. So compare prices again against different websites. And one of the important tips is make sure you check the official websites of the airlines and the hotels and travel operators. Sometimes they offer even better deals if you book directly with them. There are, of course, travel companies that offer package deals that include your flight, your accommodation, sometimes activities. I know your flight centers, your travel staff, they tend to have pretty good package deals when it does come to Black Friday. These bundle packages, they do often come with substantial discounts, again, depending on when you want to travel to, when compared to booking each component separately. Another thing on the package deal side, look into your all-inclusive holidays, which can come with significant savings in terms of your cost-to-quality ratio. So, big fan of Club Med. The all-inclusive offering for snow and sun holidays is almost unmatched. So, yeah, look into your package deals from a Black Friday perspective.
Okay, and I mean, we've touched on places like your Club Meds before, or possibly a person going Kontiki. Which are, one or two of the standout ones that you want to mention?
Oh, okay. So I know for a fact that Kontiki, they are, of course, the leading travel brand for 18 to 35-year-olds. They are going to be having a Black Friday special where you can unlock some pretty major savings on more than 150 itineraries worldwide, some of them up to 50% off. So if anyone is looking for those kinds of travel packages, Kontiki are having some amazing deals. You've also got your Cost Saver and Trafalgar having deals. I know Trafalgar Tours, which is also your preset tours. They've got buy one get 50% off. So that's another one to look at. And I just saw today that Booking.com, if you are looking for accommodation in particular, but Booking.com also do other parts of travel bookings. They have an up to 40% off when you book via their mobile app. So it's pretty important to download the Booking.com mobile app And then when they do release their Black Friday special, you'll get up to 40% off, which is pretty significant, but you have to use the app.
Okay, which other deal can you share with us?
So another important tip to remember is to also use your cashbacks in the reward program. So as South Africans, we love our loyalty cards. So your Discovery Miles, your e-bucks. Black Friday is one of the best times to really take advantage of these cashback offers and rewards programs if you are signed up to them. A lot of these programs, they do have partnerships with travel providers where you can earn more points or get cashback or discounts if you are booking around Black Friday. So remember to check out your rewards programs and your cashbacks.
Okay, now let's just have a brief chat about some of the mishaps that can happen when it comes to making payments.
Yes, so this is an important one. So while online deals are enticing, it's really, really, really important to make sure that your payment information is protected. So stick to reputable and secure websites. Consider using secure payment methods like credit cards or trusted payment gateways. Even in those instances, there are still opportunities for people to sort of hack and intercept. But yeah, as far as you can, just be aware of where you are loading your payment details. As we approach Black Friday, there really are some amazing opportunities to really just make your travel dreams come true. But again, plan ahead, stay flexible, be vigilant about the deals, and you really can uncover some incredible bargains for incredible experiences worldwide. So yeah, just be aware.
So from your experience, Gabby, do you think you will get a better deal with more popular destinations like Thailand, Mauritius, and the like? Or do you think people should be looking for maybe the less popular destinations because maybe their prices go down to become more enticing?
That's definitely the case. So of course, again, we keep, I'll say till I'm blue in the face, shoulder season, off-peak season, all of your popular destinations are likely to have really, really good deals if you are able to travel in shoulder season. But if you are only in the position to travel during peak periods, maybe it's school holidays, maybe it's the festive season, that's when it's really worthwhile to consider off-the-beaten path type of destinations that are maybe not as popular or maybe don't have as much tourist footfall, where the destinations are going to be looking to provide better rates to just get more tourists coming. So yeah, being open to those kinds of things is really likely to get you better deals. But again, just opening up to new experiences and types of destinations that are just as beautiful as your very well-known destinations at a fraction of the cost.
Gabby, what would your local and one international destination recommendation be? I know we've spoken about so many. We've almost covered the whole globe. But off the top of your head, one local destination you're like, people should definitely check this out, and international.
Ooh, I say it every time. Big fan of Coffee Bay, big fan of Sins and the Eastern Cape. But today I think I'm going to go Knysna. Knysna is also a beautiful destination from an outdoorsy perspective. Internationally, I'm going to go a little bit further afield. I'm going to go Cancun, Mexico.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, one of the most incredible destinations, especially if you're looking for an all-inclusive package destination. It is a little bit far to get to, and flights can be a little bit expensive, but now with Black Friday is the perfect time to look for better rates, and yeah, from a flight perspective and a package deal perspective. So yeah, I'm going Cancun.
Gabby Brandani, thank you so much for your time. Black Friday deals, look out. Maybe you find some spare budget for you to travel.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
In the next hour of the show, Dr. Chris Smith is going to be coming through. Get your science-related questions in. And then we have our parenting and parents feature where we talk about supporting your child's career choices as well. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. An officer testifying in the incitement case against Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has told the court that the unrest in KZN was more violent than the unrest in Gauteng. In July 2021, riots broke out in the two provinces following the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. His daughter Duduzile is currently standing trial for allegedly inciting the violence through her social media posts. The matter is being heard in the Durban High Court today. Nhlanhla Mabaso is there.
Police Major General Gopal Kavenda was tasked with coordinating investigations into the social media posts relating to the July 2021 unrest. He has told the court that WhatsApp groups relating to Jacob Zuma's release were formed in parts of the country, including the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal. He says Zuma's daughter, Duduzile Zuma Sambudla, used her influence to incite the public riots, referring to her tweets at the time. Kavenda also testified the unrest was particularly bad in KZN.
The activities of the protesters and looters were very, very violent in KZN, as opposed to Gauteng, where, yes, they did loot, they did steal, but we see the majority of the violent crimes, whether the murders or attempted murders, resulting from the civil unrest, emanates from KZN. So there was a sense of the violence in KZN as opposed to Gauteng.
More than 30 people were killed during the July unrest in Phoenix in the north of Durban. And across the country, more than 350 lives were lost. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
Let's stay in the courts. A group of activists who gathered outside the Pretoria Magistrates Court to support Zimbabwean politician Job Sikhala, who is facing criminal charges. Sikhala made his first appearance in court today on charges of possession of explosives. The former Member of Parliament for Zimbabwe's main opposition party, Citizens Coalition for Change, was found with explosives in Pretoria last week. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
Job Sikhala entered the dock wearing a shiny gold Madiba shirt, similar to those often worn by many politicians in South Africa. Behind him, the public gallery was filled with activists who insisted that he was not attempting to smuggle what police say were explosives into Zimbabwe. Zimbabwean activist Baron Mahlangu says he believes there is something suspicious about the explosives that were found in Sikhala's car, adding that he doubts a high-profile politician would ever engage in such.
There is no way that Job can take explosive and put it in his car. Job is someone that is a profile person that can help you to get those things there at home. So why can he come and get those things and drive with it in his vehicle? Job is not a stupid person.
Sikhala will remain in custody until his formal bail application on Wednesday. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The Commission of Inquiry looking into truth and reconciliation cases has stalled today as some parties in the matter plan to bring a recusal application. The Judicial Commission will determine whether attempts were made to prevent the investigation and prosecution of apartheid-era crimes. It's been 27 years since the last TRC report was submitted to then-President Thabo Mbeki with a recommendation for 3,000 cases to be prosecuted by the NPA. Proceedings kicked off today at the Bono Centre in Newtown. Modise has more.
Family members of victims of apartheid-era crimes attended proceedings today, hopeful that almost 3 decades since their cases were referred for prosecution, answers would finally be given for why they've not made it to court. But the Commission's chair, retired Constitutional Court Justice Sisi Kampepe, started proceedings by highlighting a request by the NPA and the Justice Department for the recusal of Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Ishmael Semenya. Advocate Makhosi Gwala, on behalf of the NPA, pointed out an apparent conflict because of Semenya's previous links to the NPA.
We are simply saying, because Advocate Semenya advised the NPA, gave opinions, even to the extent of representing the NPA, then on those bases he should be disqualified.
The Commission has given the parties time to make a formal recusal application. Semenya's recusal will be argued in 2 weeks' time. Modise, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Some community leaders in Westbury claim they were excluded from police engagements which took place in Sophiatown today. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia has been meeting with some Westbury community leaders to find ways to address the crime and gangsterism problems. Over the past few weeks, gang-related shootings in Westbury as well as Reiche Park claimed the lives of at least 8 people. West Rand community leader Eugene Dooms says he was not informed about meetings today and he has no idea who the selected leaders are.
I only got to know about it this morning when I saw, on the news that a meeting was going to take place today. And I was also taken by surprise, because, as community leaders, activists, we are supposed to be informed about all of this so that we can provide our opinion and also give, solutions.
And the British Broadcasting Corporation is expected to apologize to US President Donald Trump for speech editing. It's been facing criticism over a Panorama documentary that allegedly misled viewers by editing a speech by Trump that suggested he instigated an attack on the US Capitol in 2021. According to a leaked internal BBC memo published by the Daily Telegraph today, the Panorama program edited two parts of the speech together, so Trump explicitly encourages the Capitol riot. This has resulted in the resignations of the broadcaster's top brass. UK political leaders say they hope the resignations will lead to change, while Trump has welcomed the decision. Gold is trading at $4,079.94 an ounce. The rand is at 17.23 to the dollar, 22.66 to the pound, 19.89 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.69 a barrel.
On the N3 North, there's a crash in the right lane at Geldenes Interchange, and there's a crash in the right lane. It's just before Linksfield Road. Traffic slowing down from Galuli's Interchange. And on the N1 South, we're on the lookout for a stationary truck in the left lane at Proefplaas Interchange.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: an officer testifying in the incitement case against Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has told the court the unrest in KZN was more violent than the riots taking place in Gauteng.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. There was a WhatsApp that came in earlier. It reads as follows. Now, I'm not vendor, so I am going to do my best and assume. I don't think there's any foul language here. Indi masiare Relebogile, rirote venda Limpopo, Chamu Tilikwa village. GBV is very high in Mzansi. GBV is a severe violation of human rights and a global public health problem. While anyone can be a victim, women and girls are disproportionately affected. People get arrested and get bail and parole and repeat again because our law and justice system is very weak. Jail prisoners eat fresh food, free good health care, no load shedding. They watch television and free education and getting 500 SASA per day. According to me, mob justice is a way better than justice system. And they sign off saying Nda. So, it is a tricky one, and I understand the frustrations where people feel, hey, let us resort to mob justice. But let's hope that a march like this and the work that Women for Change is doing does declare it a national disaster so that the adequate resources are put towards, as was said, things like training police on reporting of cases. There's no such thing as violence being a family matter. It's not. It is a crime, and it is plain and simple. But we'll chat to Women for Change again before the 21st of November. Coming up in this hour, Parenting and Parents feature, talking about supporting your child's career and their career choices. We'll be joined by Nasreen Kirsten for that conversation. And then the Naked Scientist, Dr. Chris Smith, comes through to chat to us by answering all of your science-related questions. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and Parents time on 702. We are talking about supporting your child's career choices. It's a sensitive one. It's a tricky one. Feel free to be anonymous, but I'd love to hear from you as parents and what it is that you are doing with regards to your children and their choices, but also for you as adult children. You have that first-hand experience of possibly not being supported or of being supported with your career choices. How did it change or alter sort of what happened in your life and how you came to where you are? 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Nasreen Kirsten joins us, group psychologist at Advotech Schools. Nasreen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Relebogile. It's nice having a chat with you again.
So Nasreen, I know that feeling all too well of not feeling supported by my parents. It was in the 90s and early 2000s, but times have changed so much. Parents are a lot more exposed, and there aren't those professions that guarantee anything. There was a time where being a doctor was like, hey, if you're a doctor, that's it. If you go and study medicine, there was a time where it was all about engineering, but times have changed quite a bit.
100% so. I mean, for you, just speaking to you and just listening to you at its very core, feeling unsupported as a adult child isn't about, I think it's a very difficult place to find yourself in because there's this want to be seen, accepted, and celebrated. And parents ideally should be doing exactly that. But we know we really know it's been such a it's such a big decision that needs to be made when we're thinking around career choices. And as parents, it's important for parents to know and understand how to become the compass without trying to be the map. So in other words, it's how to guide your child's journey without dictating every single turn. And that's the important thing, because what we are seeing is that young people tend to flourish when they have autonomy, when they have competence, or when they believe that they can succeed, and when there's this deep connection in the communication, which is transparent and often a trusting and safe relationship between parent and child. And that's really what helps them make the right choice. When it comes to the career.
You said something so powerful there, and I'd love for you to repeat it about being the compass. Can you just repeat that line again?
Sure. So as parents, we need to know how to become the compass without trying to be the map. So to explain it in more detail, it's how to guide your child's journey without dictating every single turn that they make.
And why is that important, Nasreen? Because parents will feel that they know better, they understand better, and they have more insight into certain professions or careers.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about it, we have to move in this age from telling to asking. And it's about being a sounding board, not a steering wheel. So we can offer options and we can offer engagement, but it's up to the children and our children that needs to make the decision. So what we're doing is we're creating a situation, a space where we're empowering the child to make the choices. We allowing them to make the judgment, but we're still saying to them, come to us. Let's find a place of understanding. And often if you think about it, the media, you tell your parent you want to become a YouTuber, for example. Automatically there is this move to want to shut down that notion or say to your child, it's just a phase, you'll move on. But rather we need to address what is our fear of them wanting this. And rather let us find a way to open up the discussion to say, listen, I really don't understand this this new career choice. Can you perhaps tell me a little bit about it? Because I'm also learning, and maybe get, the conversation going in terms of understanding, okay, so if you were to become a YouTuber, what sort of skills would you need in order to become successful in this career?
And I think you're asking such valid, you're opening up valid questions for parents to take to the conversation. And I saw a dad who every year would record on the first day of his daughter's schooling, would ask her what she wants to be when she grows up. And you actually can see the moment in her face where that's the one that will stick all the way until she, finishes school. And I think it was some kind of sciences. But I think also creating the space where the child has room to change their mind in the same way that a child can be like, I want to do netball, and you buy all the kit. And then the next year they're like, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, when we think about our career lifetime or our lifetime in our careers, we generally say, or research has shown, that you can change your career at least 5 to 7 times. So whilst you're opening up the discussions and really, when do you start these conversations? Well, they really can start from primary school. However, you've got to keep it more playful. So you can ask things around what do you enjoy, what makes you curious, rather than what do you want to be, right? But in high school, you really need to shift into a different phase, because this is all about identity and opportunity. So here, the conversations really need to be around the ideas, testing them on the ideas, understanding them to maybe, or get them to shadow professionals and research real pathways, so that you aren't just limiting it to one profession, but you're allowing them to see, looking at their strengths, what are my strengths and where would they fit in order for me to be successful. So again, for example, you should be a doctor, rather try and rephrase it and say, well, what kind of careers can we perhaps think about where you could use your skill or your art of helping people? And how do you make that a career?
Well said. We've got a call from Joe coming in. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702 for all your questions. Joe, hi, go ahead.
Hi, Relebogile. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your guest as well.
Yes.
I have a quick question. I need some help, actually. I have a nephew of mine who basically sort of barely made it out of high school. So I'd advise him to actually go back again, and he should try. But he came back again, and his results were the same. So I'd taken him to like a psychologist. I think they're called educational psychologist. And
Great.
What actually came out? Say again?
Yes, she was saying yes.
Yes, and then I taken him to like an educational psychologist, and what came out is that his IQ is low or something along those lines. But he doesn't seem to have any kind of I don't know, doesn't initiate anything. So I still don't know what he wants to do. I've been trying to understand. He's just very despondent and very quiet after his second attempt in high school. So I just need some advice, please.
How old is he, Joe, just so we have context?
He's now 23, turning 24.
23, turning 24. And what is he occupying his time with at the moment?
Nothing really. Nothing
okay. And the conversation you had with him last, what was he sharing that his interests are?
It's mentioned that he wants to be like a musician, which is okay, but he doesn't seem to be taking much initiative into this thing that he says he wants to do. He just wakes up and stays home and do nothing.
Thank you so much, Joe. Nasreen, I mean, it sounds to me like it might be layered with possibly other challenges, and maybe we're only looking at the educational academic side.
Correct, yeah. So, Joe, I mean, I must commend you for what you've already done in terms of supporting and the listening and the guiding that you're doing. So you're definitely opening up the correct platforms. You've already engaged with an educational psychologist. And what I would recommend is further exploring conversations with that psychologist around what Joe's strengths-based career matchings are. So he can be very successful regardless of level of intellectual ability or emotional ability. And I think it's about understanding within his strengths what is going to work best for him. once those kind of conversations are opened up, you can actually go and seek further advisement from different colleges. So in the different colleges, they each have a career unit or a career team that then can provide with the report, provide the correct match or allow you to follow what is the correct courses that your nephew could then be attending. And I think that in its supportive may allow him to, or might ignite that spark within him to realize, well, this is actually what I want to do. And if this is the career I see as mine, these are the goal, or these are the steps that I need to follow in order to reach that.
Joe, would you also be open to maybe taking him to see like a clinical psychologist to see if there might be psychological, emotional, or any other mental health challenges that are sort of happening?
I'm definitely keen for that. Definitely keen.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I know of education to be the key of poverty. So it's one thing I've been pushing him to do, but clearly he's not sort of capable, for lack of a better word. So I'm definitely keen to explore other avenues.
Please do, Joe, because remember if there are mental health challenges, that already trumps academics. You might be sitting with a child who is exceptionally bright with a high IQ, but there are other issues that you may not be aware of that have happened or are happening.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you.
Oh, Joe, thank you so much. Nazreen, how often do you hear of situations like this where a parent or even a child is frustrated that they almost start to behave and it looks on the outside like they've just given up on themselves?
Really, it's fairly common, and it's fairly common in all developmental phases. It's fairly common, like you said, whether it's an intellectual difficulty or emotional mental health difficulties that they are challenged by. And I think for us, it's really just to understand and work in a multidisciplinary team. So working with the ed psychs, working with your clinical psychs or your universities and colleges to actually understand how do we navigate this in a way that makes the individual feel that they're capable? Because I think often that's what they left feeling is, I'm incapable of doing this. I'm never going to succeed. All I've been faced with is challenges after challenges.
Okay, and there is a message coming through which says, it's all good and well, you're discussing careers now, but what you must keep in mind is young people must look at careers in demand. It's no use you follow a career where you can't find work for, and most people can't afford to leave the country and go work abroad. What are your thoughts on that, Nasreen? I mean, I think I would have had the same views prior to maybe like 7-8 years ago as to what is being shared. What are your thoughts on that?
So we know right now as we speak, there's a lot within our conversations around becoming a coder, becoming an AI specialist, or a digital designer, for example. But we still need to remember that the world still needs skilled hands, creative thinkers, and practical problem solvers. So we still need carpenters, electricians, chefs, mechanics, and these are the professions that build, fix, and sustain our everyday life. So yes, our environment is changing and careers have to evolve alongside technology. So for example, you now are going to be having your electrician dealing with smart home systems, for example, right? And then we need to remember that traders are not being replaced. It's just about being redefined. So every career has value. Every skill will still contribute to society, and then the goal is to help the children in finding meaning and pride in what they do, and not to fit them into what seems most modern or most profitable.
Okay, and I mean, Nasreen, how do you then find that balance? Because obviously parents looking at what the world is today, their concern is their child's future and them being able to be independent, but it's also trying to find the balance between that and what brings them joy. So the WhatsApp that had come through about look at careers where jobs are in demand, what does the future look like where we only have people looking for jobs in demand, which could change, by the time they're even old enough, versus them doing what they're truly passionate about?
So I think it's then about understanding what the balance means. And it's about then finding the balance in a career or understanding these job demands, but meeting it to what your strengths are. At the end of the day, when I mentioned in the very beginning, I spoke to about autonomy, competence, and I said, at the end of the day, that's what makes a profession successful or one successful: autonomy, competence, and connection. And if we look at that, when we apply it to what you are asking, we need to understand, children need to understand, and our adolescents need to understand, well, what's my skill set? And how does this fit into the jobs that are on demand? What about these jobs will make me feel successful? And it's about monitoring and understanding what will a career in these jobs look like. So that means there needs to be a lot more research than what there was done previously. If you think about maybe 20 years ago, we knew what a doctor did, right? We knew that this was a profession or medical field. Now we've had to expand our way of engaging with career choices to the point that parents have to go out and help their kids research. We have to research by, for example, there's YouTube videos called In the Day of a Life, and there's different career choices on these websites where we can then tap into understand all of these on-demand job opportunities, or even just the lawyers, the doctors, etc. And by creating all of this research, we're opening it up to understand what does meaningful work look like, even if I have to fit into demand jobs.
Oh, and I think that's the big thing, is meaningful work. I'm also curious, Nazreen, about the fact that there are going to be careers that crop up in the next 10 years. I mean, I'm sure 10 years ago, we didn't even know about the concept of a prompt engineer. Now people are hiring people to prompt these AI chatbots and things like that. How do we sort of prepare our children for a life where we also are not sure of what the future jobs might look like?
So that goes back to the notion of understanding that careers have seasons. And just as every season comes and goes, there's times of growth, intensity, and consolidation. So instead of chasing being perfect or chasing the perfection in every career, we need to understand what is our long-term goals, what is our long-term desires, what is our long-term passions, and how do our strengths again fit into that. So that during the seasons of, for example, now everybody is understanding AI and we're talking about it over and over and over, but understand, so even in the world, in the context of mental health, how do we incorporate AI into our work and space environments? Because we know AI, for example, doesn't have the empathy, the empathic notion, right? So it's about looking at that in a different way and creating elasticity, but not rigidity, to what we are speaking about when it comes to careers.
Okay, and from what you are seeing, what are some of the challenges that the young people share with you about their parents not supporting their careers or career dreams and goals? We were chatting the other time about, and his name just went out my head, he's a famous Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino, there I remember.
Okay, yes.
Quentin Tarantino has famously said that his mother never supported his dream of being like this filmmaker, so he doesn't send her a cent of money. Like, he's rich, and because she never supported him. And I thought, wow, that is real. What do some of the kids and the young people say to you?
Listen, I think when parents don't hear their kids then do tend to shut down. And that is the reality of what I see, because we see that career anxiety is real. And many young people feel paralyzed by the uncertainty, just like you are questioning me around what is, these demand jobs, what will 10 years in the future look like? We know that there's high youth unemployment and social pressures. So they already have so many of the external factors that are making them anxious. We as parents need to be able to understand this level of helplessness and hopelessness that they feel and see, and we need to obviously give them that support, because they know, when they start shutting down, when they have the paralysis by analysis because they're so tired of speaking about careers, we're actually preventing them from seeing the future opportunities. We also, in terms of many ways, we're closing them off and saying rather go with stability, yet in this world, we know that adaptability is more important.
Ooh.
We know that kids need to adapt and they need to have that resilience, because it speaks to those in what happens in 10 years' time, right?
I love what you're saying about the adaptability, and that is such an important thing. And maybe, Nasreen, as we run out of time, the next time we catch up is maybe to also chat about the kind of character development that a child needs to have to just survive, because the skills and the education are not sufficient.
Would love to pick up the conversation with you, Reddy. And I think it's really important conversation to have, because we need to be having these talks with our kids.
There we go, Nasreen. Kirsten, thank you so much for your time in our Parenting and Parents feature. Just after 2:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of police corruption is considering travelling to Pretoria to accommodate witness Vusimuzi Ket Matlala, who is behind bars at the Kgosi Mampuru Correctional Facility. Matlala is currently incarcerated at the high security prison while facing a murder charge, but is still listed as one of the key witnesses implicated in allegations of police corruption. At the same time, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard how a whistleblower was killed shortly after he raised the alarm on an unlawful EMPD operation, which resulted in the arrest of several EMPD officers. Retired EMPD Deputy Commissioner Revo Spies has been testifying before the Commission in Pretoria today. Spies has outlined several criminal cases against EMPD members who were under the leadership of acting head Julius Mkhwanazi, and an officer testifying in the incitement case against Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has told the court the unrest in KwaZulu-Natal was more violent than in Gauteng. In July 2021, riots broke out in the two provinces following the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. His daughter Duduzile is now standing trial for allegedly inciting the violence through her social media posts. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
On the N3 North, there's still that earlier crash in the right lane at Geldenes Interchange and the right lane just before Linksfield Road, so you can expect delays. And there's still roadworks on the N12 West after Yelland's Interchange. That's in the right lane. And there's roadworks on the N12 East. That's just before Yelland's Interchange, so please be on the lookout for that. In Linksfield, traffic lights are out at Linksfield Road and the N3 in Paulshof at Witkoppen and Main, and Witkoppen and Rivonia Road in Sunning Hill. And in Centurion, traffic lights are out at the intersection of the N14 and Jean Avenue, as well as the N1 and Old Joburg Road. More Eyewitness News traffic at 3 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Experience a unique musical journey as the Mzansi National Philharmonic Orchestra presents its national tour, featuring legendary conductor Marin Alsop and homegrown global sensation Abel Selauchwe. The program includes Selauchwe's Four Spirits Cello Concerto, paired with Rachmaninoff's Romantic Symphony No. 2. Concerts take place at the Linda Auditorium on Wednesday the 10th and Thursday the 11th of December. Book your tickets now at Quicket.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Did you know that every time you shop and save with Better Rewards, you're supporting the Dis-Chem Foundation? Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. All the more reason to sign up to become a Dis-Chem Better Rewards member. Support with every swipe. The Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
Looking for real ways to live greener? Then don't miss Green Tip of the Week, your weekly dose of sustainable inspiration. From eco-entrepreneurs to climate champions, we sit down with the people making real change. Catch Green Tip of the Week every Tuesday on Afternoon Drive with John Perlman from 3 to 6 p.m. only on 702. Proudly brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave in a Volvo.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
25 minutes to 3 o'clock. Make sure you tune in to 702 Drive with John Perlman. And that will be coming up shortly at 3 o'clock up until 6 o'clock. But for now, and we'll have Ray White standing in for John Perlman. But for now, it is time for The Naked Scientist, which means you can get all your science-related questions into us. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 0727021702. There's always a queue when it comes to Dr. Chris Smith and his science-related questions. And what we do try to do as a team, I'll give an example. Every single week we get a question about the black hole. We do try our best, or the Big Bang Theory. We do try our best to give diversity with the questions, but please know for a fact that we keep them with us. So if you want to join the queue when we're not on air, 702 afternoons at 702.co.za. Happy Monday, Dr. Chris Smith. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am doing well, Doctor, and I've got a question for you, and I'm not sure if you might have the answer.
Well, you can have a go. Go for it.
All right. So we have been chatting today about gender-based violence and the terrible pandemic we are experiencing in South Africa. And I really wondered, is there something that has been picked up by any scientists or research about the brain of perpetrators of, let's say extreme violence or your femicides and things like that? Or do they sort of get clumped into that category that serial killers get clumped into sociopaths and psychopaths and things like that?
I think given the number of these sorts of crimes that happen in terms of who causes them, as a proportion of the population as a whole, the numbers, thankfully, are relatively few. So the amount of data where people have actually been subject to brain examinations and brain scans and so on is quite low. So it's really, really difficult to say these people have this problem or this is causing this. But there are some associations, and we know that some behavioural traits can be related to upbringing. Some behavioural traits are to do with the genes you're born with. There are certainly some genes or some genetic configurations that do appear to be associated with abnormal or antisocial behaviour. There's a particular condition where people have extra Y chromosomes, and this may also affect behaviour. It does tend to make people more aggressive. There are certain circumstances where people are more prone to mental illnesses, and those mental illnesses can lead to behaviour patterns that can lead to people attacking people or doing things that we would regard as antisocial, because that person's illness leads to them, for example, experiencing voices that are telling them to do bad things. Now, if we brain scan those people, you do occasionally see changes structurally in their brains, but those would not be any different from the structural changes you would see in other people with the same sort of mental problem, but which is not translating into them behaving like that. So it's very difficult to say that there's a test we could apply that you could look at a person and say, you're likely to behave in this way. We don't have that kind of resolution of information. We can have directional information. We can look backwards and say, with hindsight, we could see all of the red lights on the dashboard with relation to this person, and we're very good at that with our retrospectoscope, but we're not very good at looking forward and anticipating. So the answer to the question really is, it's difficult, it's complicated, and is there a diagnostic set of criteria we could apply? No, probably not.
So in essence, there's in terms of, what we have seen, where you have the child who grows up in an abusive home, vowing to never do it and never doing it because of what he experienced versus the child growing up in an abusive home and then becoming an abuser. We're not seeing any links that can kind of say, watch out for X, Y, and Z. I think the one I saw was if a small child starts to like brutalize or terrorize little animals, that's like the first maybe red flag you need to look out for.
Yeah, that's right. So if individuals have we know there are some associations with people growing up to have more problems, not just a tendency to hurt other people, but a tendency to be mentally unwell or to be depressed or to have a range of other problems. And there are various flags that do stand out. And growing up in a traumatized household where your childhood is not a happy one, or you're subject to abuse, or you see others being abused, it does rub off on people. And young brains are very plastic. They can change and they adapt, and it can become an ingrained behaviour. So environment's very, very important. That's absolutely true. There are lots of people, though, who do grow up in terrible circumstances and they don't have this happen to them. And there are people who suffer terrible life events and actually the reverse happens, and it makes them a kinder person or a better person. So we have to be really cautious about having a one-size-fits-all approach to this. But you're right, there are certain danger signs that if you see these sorts of behaviours being manifest, particularly at a young age, then you do have to ask more questions and ask, well, why is that individual behaving like that? And the other question is, at what age do we need to intervene in order to change the course so that that person doesn't go on to develop a more severe problem that might then lead to a lower quality of life for them and other people.
All right, 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072702 and 702. Interesting question, Doctor, that says, hi Relebogile, is midlife crisis a mindset or is it a stage, and how can one manage it? And I can tell from the name that it's a man, but maybe can you answer for men and women?
Yeah, I think that there's a range of factors to this. And on the one hand, from an individual's perspective, you are growing older. As you grow older, your body changes. You lose your hair in many men's cases. You lower your testosterone levels, so you experience hormonal changes. You also begin to be more prone to developing a range of different diseases, which can lead to disabilities. They can lead to mental mood changes like depression, for example. So on an individual level, there are impacts of aging. There are also relationship aspects to aging. If you're a woman, for example, from about the mid-40s onwards, you have a higher rate of going into the peri and then subsequently the menopause. Most women have had their menopause by the age of 55. The menopause is where you stop having periods. And this is because the ovaries run out of eggs. The ovaries are the source of your estrogen. Therefore, estrogen levels tend to drop. Dropped estrogen levels tend to lead to mood changes because estrogen drives mood in women in the same way that testosterone drives mood in men. And so therefore women can struggle with a range of mood altering effects of that particular age. And when you bring that into a relationship, it can lead to men, for instance, thinking, why is my wife less interested in me, for example? And you have to bring all these factors together. And I think probably when we have a midlife crisis, what we're doing is thinking, I'm not getting any younger. My wife's not getting any younger. We are only on the planet once. I need to make the most of it. So is this how I want to live the rest of my life? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And it leads to a circle of reflection and cycle of reflection. And sometimes in some people's cases, they think, well, I'm not happy with my lot. I want to change something. In some people's cases, they go out with their credit card and they buy stuff. And they have a shopping habit which makes them feel a bit better. It's a sticking plaster. In other people's cases, they decide to change their relationship and they break up, and they may seek out someone who isn't experiencing the difficulties perhaps their partner is, and they go for someone who's a bit younger. These things unfortunately happen. Some people it works out very well. Other people find that in fact that it's not the answer they were looking for. It's not the loving relationship they're looking for, and then they're back to square one. So I think you have to be very careful what you wish for, but we have to expect that as we get older, you are not going to be the young person you always were. And it's like Oscar Wilde said, youth is wasted on the young. You don't realise what you have got to lose until it begins to be lost to you. And then you may have some regrets. And I think that's part and parcel of what kicks in. You have a realisation that, well, I'm not going to be around forever and I need to make the most of it.
Okay, thank you so much for that question that came through. Okay, one says, Dr. Chris, why is it that when you're sick, it seems like it gets worse in the night? The pains are more at night. Oh, even with flu, everything just feels worse at night, doctor.
I think there's a range of reasons for this. Number one, when you are laying in bed and it's really quiet and you've got nothing else to distract you, the only thing you can focus on is how ill you feel. And you really want to be asleep and it's keeping you awake. When anything keeps you awake and you really want to be asleep, it's a real pain and you feel really miserable about it. If it's worrying about a relationship or worrying about an exam the next day and you're awake at night worrying about it, it's really bad. And with fewer distractions, because it's nighttime, you tend to notice everything much, much more. It's a bit like your problems are always worse when you worry about them at night, aren't they? And in the morning, you think, oh, I think I was probably going over the top about that a bit, because there's less to occupy you at night. So I think it's partly that. And also, during the day, we do things and take steps to make ourselves feel better. We might get some fresh air, we might have a drink, we might take some paracetamol, for example. We might have a caffeinated beverage. And you'd be surprised, a lot of people don't realise how hopelessly addicted to caffeine they are. And so during the daytime, when they're taking these various remedies that make you feel better from a cold or a flu, have a look on the packet. You'll see that a lot of them contain caffeine, because when people are not well and they don't have their normal intake of coffee and tea, they get a caffeine withdrawal, which makes their germ feel worse. So a lot of these remedies know this, the people who make these remedies know this, so they put caffeine in the remedy, and that deals with your caffeine addiction, and it also gives you a bit of paracetamol. At night time, you're less likely to have as much caffeine intake, and you probably haven't got up to take medications and things to make your symptoms go away, so they tend to intensify. So I think when you bring all that together, that is why things tend to sometimes feel worse at night, and you feel a bit better during the day.
Thank you so much for that question. Keep them coming. 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 0727021702. We continue when we come back.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi 702 lenders, my name is Nontanta Khatebe and I listen to 702 during the week and on weekends, because on weekends it's the Soul Sundays. Kenny Mystery and Pushara.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
It's amazing what help can do. Help can take you from smart money moves to smart gadgets and household must-haves. With an FNB Premier Credit or Fusion card, get up to 40% back in e-bucks on devices and appliances. Open any FNB Premier account today, celebrating 25 years of helping you live the Premier life. FNB, help changes everything. TC's earn rules apply while stocks last. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. 702.
The Naked Scientist.
12 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we continue with the Naked Scientist. Dr. Chris Smith will answer all of your science-related questions on 011 8830702 and the WhatsApp line 0727021702. Question says here, and I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly, why do chill brains only happen in the winter season, Dr. Chris Smith, and stops in other seasons?
I get chilblains. Do you get those? Have you had them?
Is that like a brain freeze?
No, chilblains. No, in your feet and toes, usually.
Oh, they spelt it as brains.
Your fingers and toes.
Oh, okay. Maybe help me
chilblains
understand
are
what
different to brain freeze.
Oh, I got you.
Chilblains definitely do happen in the wintertime, and they are usually on the exposed digits. So fingers can be affected, toes most frequently affected, and the symptom, the other word for chilblains is erythema pernio. They are red in the cold. The symptom is swollen, very warm when they get flushed with blood, itchy, and also painful all at the same time. It's a very bizarre sort of suite of symptoms. And it seems to come on after you get very, very cold and then warm up. And it can persist for several days afterwards. And you just get these itchy bits on the side of usually the smallest toes, which are right at the end of the blood supply. Now, we don't know exactly why this happens, but it's definitely a vascular phenomenon. And it's probably related to another condition called Raynaud's syndrome, where there's overreactivity of blood vessels in response to the cold. So when you get very cold, your blood vessels constrict to limit blood flow to the cold areas to minimize heat loss. And we don't exactly know why, but in people with chilblains, when this happens in the aftermath, there seems to be an almost like inflammatory state where the tissue becomes hyperemic, lots of enhanced blood flow and inflammation, so they become hot and itchy. And it's therefore almost certainly also linked to the nervous system and its relation to perhaps histamine, but we don't know exactly. Seems to run in families. People who have a family history of getting bad chilblains in winter very often have this. The treatment is not to get them in the first place. Prevention is better than cure. And if you know what triggers them, which is getting very cold and then warming up, don't do that. So try to wear extra socks in winter, avoid letting your feet get really cold, and being active, sitting for long periods inactive with cold digits, especially feet, is a major risk factor. Keeping active, keeping walking, keeping moving, keeps blood flowing, keeps the blood vessels open, and seems to minimize the risk of getting chilblains. But we do not know exactly what they are and how they work. So the bottom line is that prevention is better than cure because we don't actually know what we're curing.
Okay, thank you so much for that question that came through. We've got a voice note, 072 702 1702.
I've got a question for the naked scientist, and it's got to do with vehicles. We do hear that tires are going bad because the car wheel alignments are off and all that. Now, my question is, why do these wheels go off? I mean, these wheel alignments, why do they go off, and why do they actually affect tires? And again, isn't there a way that car manufacturers can make these things like permanent? You know, you buy the vehicle, you don't need to pull in your car to set alignments now and then and all that. Titus Toffontaine.
So we've got the naked mechanic on today, as well as the naked scientist.
You know what I love about that is you also have been in South Africa to know how many potholes we have.
Oh, yes. You should come to the UK and see how many potholes we've got. Because honestly, we are giving Joburg a run for its money. I reckon actually the roads are better in Joburg than the roads around where I live. And I'm not exaggerating. It's got so bad. It's become sort of an international thing, how bad the UK's roads are. Right, what's being referred to here is the tracking. On the front wheels of your car, where the wheels turn to steer the car, it is impossible to just have them pointing straight forward all the time because you wouldn't be able to steer. So you've got to be able to make those tyres steer. The way in which you set the front of the car up to make them steer is that the axle has a pivot point so that you can rotate the wheel to turn it left and right. And there is an arm that comes from the steering wheel that pushes the wheel on the left to the left when you turn the wheel to the left, and it pulls in the wheel on the right to turn that wheel so the front of the tyre points left so you can steer left, and vice versa. But because those are two independent wheels, you've got to be able to adjust how much the front points right or left on each tyre and make sure they line up both with the back of the car, but also are the right amount of towing in relative to each other. Because as the car turns around a corner, it also rolls a little bit, and therefore you don't want the wheels pointing dead straight forwards because then you'd have less tyre in contact with the road as you went round the corner. So you have to tow them slightly in order to make sure you've got good grip and control. If the tracking is out, then you've got one tyre pointing in one direction and one pointing in a slightly different direction, as though that wheel's always trying to turn the car. So one tyre is being dragged across the road surface and the other tyre is rolling forwards. That's going to wear one of the tyres out, and it's going to wear the edge that's doing most of the dragging out more than on the other wheel and on the rest of that affected wheel. And that's why when you go to the garage, the mechanic will look at it and say your tracking is out on this wheel, because they'll see a bald patch or a worn patch on the tread where this is happening. And the treatment is that on the arm, which goes from the car to that wheel, you can wind the arm in and out, which pulls the wheel in and out a bit. And they have got machines now where you put a light box on the tyre and it points a light beam at a special gauge in front of the car, and you can measure how many degrees the tyre is in or out, the wheel is in or out on each side, and you can match them up so they're pointing the toe, the amount they're pointing towards each other is just right, so they line up and you get minimum wear, maximum grip and control as you go around corners. You couldn't possibly make it so that you fix this when you make the car, because if ever you changed any of the components, you change the tyres, you change the rim, you hit a pothole, hit the curb, you're going to bend things, move things, and all of the parts that are involved all got slightly different tolerances. So it's important to set these things up each time. And that's why when you go and have a tyre changed, they will say, would you like your tracking set and reset accordingly? And it's a good idea to say yes, because it will save you in the long term, because you'll be wearing your tyres out less, you're less likely to have an accident, less likely to have a puncture, and you're less likely to be replacing those tyres soon. So it's worth every penny to get the tracking sorted out when you replace tyres, especially if you have hit some potholes, because that will throw the alignment off.
All right, we've got another voice note.
Good afternoon, 702. Good afternoon, Dr. Smith. Just curious, in terms of flies and mosquitoes, in our winter, they're very rare to see around. And I was just curious in terms of, do they lay eggs somewhere and then all of a sudden become dormant when it gets wet, or it becomes a bit warmer? Because especially with flies, they become quite abundant in the summer weather. Where do they lay their eggs or keep dormant? Because from what I know, mosquitoes come from the larvae and the flies come from the maggots. So I'm really curious about that. I'm Lefa from Relebogile.
Hello. Right. Well, the answer is these insects do effectively hibernate. What they'll do is they go and find cold places which are sheltered, and they can hide underneath them. They go under shelves, under leaves. They hide in nooks and crannies. Butterflies will find somewhere quiet to hang themselves where it's quiet. And because they're insects, they've got no warm-blooded system like we have, so their metabolism can drop right down low in the cold temperatures. Therefore, they don't need as much food. That's certainly what some insects do. They certainly reduce their level of activity, and they will still nevertheless be reproducing. You'll find flies in your house in wintertime. They will still be able to go and find things that they can lay eggs on, which turn into maggots, which eat that thing, usually dead mice, for example, in your loft or in your outhouse. This will breed a new generation of flies. But there are fewer of them because food is less abundant. The weather makes it harder for them to be as active, and therefore they tend to be fewer in number. And then they surge in summer when the temperatures come back up. But they do effectively hang around over winter, not quite hibernating because they're not asleep, but they are dormant over the winter period. But they can still be active up to a point. So there are just fewer of them, and they're less active because it's colder and they're more sluggish in the cold.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Back together next week.
See you next time.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an Absa Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. Absa, your story matters.
Calling all wedding
planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za because we're your number one choice. Home in One has it all.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and choosing to spend your afternoon with us. Women for Change is the organization that is speaking up for the terrible injustices we are seeing in our country, not just against women, but also around against other marginalized groups. They've also supported men, if you were not aware. If you'd like to join the cause, go to all their social pages, go to the links in my bios, and you'll be able to sign the petition for gender-based violence to be declared a national disaster. Thanks for joining. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Implementation of the ARTO demerit system has been postponed, and MPs may be travelling to Hoshimampuru prison to question Kat Matlala. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. We begin with news just in. The implementation of the administration says a postponement to July next year is necessary as some municipalities are just not ready for it. ARTO was due to commence on the 1st of December this year. It aims to remove traffic offences from the courts and handle them with admin, coupled with the introduction of a demerit system. The department says it conducted an assessment of readiness, and in some municipalities the training of officials is still incomplete. Spokesperson Colin Msibi